But I wanted to ask you, as far as your editing goes, um, how do you edit as far as because I know that when I do it, I just go over it and over it and over it again, and just I write my main draft, and but there's a lot of editing that goes on.
Well, first of all, I finish a book and I will set it aside for at least 6 to 8 months before I even look at it again,
Hmm.
and go on to another project. So that when I go back to it, I go back with fresh eyes. And then I'll take a second pass at the book. And then I'll hand the book. I've got a couple of editors that I work with that I really respect. I'll hand the book to an editor and let them make a pass at it and be as critical as they can in their pass. And then finally, I hand it to my wife. And because one of the things that has happened, I originally believed that I began writing books to try and bring men back into reading books. Um, to that objective, I don't think I've succeeded. I have a pretty good following that are men, but
Uh,
probably 2 out of 3 people that buy my books are women. And if my wife really likes the book and follows the book and can deal with the technical part of it and understand it clearly, then I think I've probably got a book that'll work. But she's my final editor, and I'm working on the second version of this new series that we talked about, the old series, but brought it forward. I picked up a book that I wrote 5 years after that and been reworking that. And she took a look at it, a very thorough look at it, after an editor took a look at it. She said, it's really good except for these last 2 chapters. And the last 2 chapters are just, it's way too simple a solution for the problem that you've created. So we finished today, and assuming the weather warms up enough that I can take my dog for a walk today for the first time in 5 days, I'm going to come back and sit down and start working on those 2 chapters again.
oh, that's
Um,
true.
so, she's a very bright lady, but she's also a great critic, and she has a great writing background. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, with my book, with another try, uh, I finished it up, and my I couldn't, I don't have the patience as you do. It's like, so my wife had to hear me, like if I wrote a paragraph or a sentence, I'd have to tell her over coffee, like, oh, this is what I did today. So she kind of knew what it was about, as I was writing it. Um, but I was very excited to turn it in, and um, my agent didn't. She just said, no, this isn't quite right. So we tried again, and did a rewrite and a rewrite. And I, I got in touch with Anne Aubrey, an editor, and, she said, okay, well, I'm going to do an assessment. And she said, it's not very good. And it's like, oh, here I put all this, time and effort into it. And I really thought this was the, oh boy, I'm the next lead child, right? And but she just said it's not very good. So she gave me some notes, and I went back, and I could see exactly what she was talking about. And uh, I just sort of let it sit there. And she was not just an editor, but she was the reason why this book got made, uh, published, because she believed in the story, and she just had to get me there. And so she just had to guide me along to get me to in shape. So she was my biggest cheerleader besides, the editing. So, my hats off to my editor.
uh, understand every word that you just said. And um, we talked a little while ago about listening.
Mhm.
Um, the editors that I've worked with are really, really, really good at listening once. And then I want them to take over. And my job then is to listen.
Mhm.
And I'll do my best to sell the basic concept of the book. Um, but after the concept is in place, um, how the book works, how the pieces fit together, how the characters interact, and so forth, they've got a lot more experience than I have. And, I've got, as I said, I have 2 different editors I work with. And um, I can't tell you how many of the books that I really, really want to get out are still sitting, in my computer because I haven't had time to take all of the adjustments they suggested and put them back into the book. And those will happen. Um, and frankly, I like what they do to my books. I like what they do to them.